wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
Jordan Klepper.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling real good, yeah.
I love the way you came in here already because I was joking. I was like, you what, 6'4"? And then Charlamagne was like, really? And then you said Charlamagne must be around 6'1". I mean, 5'1".
You didn't say that. You said 5'1".
I said 5'1".
5'1".
I said 5'1".
And you're about right.
I was being generous. My joke in my head, I was like, I'll make a joke about 4'6", but I'll give him a little bit more. I said 5'1". What did you say you were, Charlamagne?
I'm 5'6".
That's
You're
a
5'6"?
goddamn lie.
You're 5'6". You are no 5'6".
5'6". Actually 5'7", but I just say 5'6" to make people feel comfortable.
Well, I
For
feel
whatever reason, I say 5'7", they argue with me, so I just say 5'6".
yeah. And even though you said 5'6", I'm arguing with you right now, right? Does that include if the brim? If you put the brim way up, you're including the brim, right?
But see, that's what I thought with you. I'm like, with the hair, you might be 6'4". I was thinking like 6'1".
That is fair. The hair gives me an extra couple inches.
Charlamagne is 5'6" with heels on. That's when he's about 5'6".
Well, you wear heels on the regular. How tall are you when you actually wear them? Okay.
I'm 6'5", okay?
What happened to your foot, Jordan?
I broke my sesamoid bone.
I never even heard of that.
I didn't either. It's the kneecap of the toe.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I got another. Let me tell you, if you want old man stories right now, I broke my sesamoid bone by standing on it for too long.
I don't even know what that is.
It really it's a tiny.
Standing on it.
I broke a bone by standing. I'm that old now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And see, that's a big deal for you because you are, probably one of the best field journalists out here, if not the best.
The best, 100% the best.
I think you're the best.
I'll take it.
I do. And you have the new one, fingers the post, fingers the post, MAGA the next generation. That has to affect you.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, if you watch the special right now, you will see I'm only shot from like the halfway up. And if anything gets awry, like I can't move or get away from people.
Oh, so it was broke during the special?
It was broke during the special.
Oh, you can't do that when you're around the MAGA crowd. You just
tough.
never know.
Now, no offense to the MAGA crowd, but they're also slow movers too.
Gotcha.
I can usually outmaneuver them. Mm-hmm. I can use my privilege to lord it over them, or I use the 4 security guards to get between me and them if things get hairy.
I enjoyed the special. It's you talking to the younger, I guess, generation of MAGA because 15% of young men?
Yeah. Young men shifted right this election.
Gotcha.
There was a shift right from the entire youth generation. Mm-hmm. Like women shifted right, but men especially moved into the MAGA camp. And so we were curious why. Like what was it about that? It doesn't feel like the cool thing on a campus to believe in, anti-abortion reproductive rights, or essentially it's the anti-hippie movement. But there was a movement, so we're like, let's get there. Let's go to a Turning Points event. Let's go to a UFC fight. Let's talk to some of these kids.
I watched it, and when I finished, I was like, I still didn't hear a logical reason. It just felt like vibes.
I think, yeah. I think it still is vibes. The large question was, is there an ideology behind this shift? And I think the answer is no. Mm-hmm. I don't think you have a lot of kids who have conservative ideals. There's some. Religion comes in or whatever those ideals are. But I think mostly they see people finding success on TikTok and the social media space being conservative, and that gives them an identity. They see it as a little bit punk. That gives it an identity. So I think they're moving towards vibes, which I think for the left, they can get those vibes back, but they're just not engaging with that generation.
Jordan, I would have to ask why. Why did you want to waste your time and talk to MAGA youngings?
I don't think it's a waste of time. I think it's a good exercise. I think more people should do that.
The reason I say that is because you're not going to get the answers you like probably, and then you're probably going to get threatened a lot.
Sure. Yes. I mean, the first answer, health insurance. My job is to be able to talk to other people, and if I don't do my job, I don't have health insurance.
Correct.
And I have weak bones. So we've established that. For this 6'9" frame, I need that health insurance. But I think what I like about it, I mean, I'm lucky I get to go out there. I'm not a journalist. I'm a comedian. Mm-hmm. So I get to push. I get to ask follow-ups. I get to cavort and try to find something that reveals.
Right.
My job out there isn't to convince people of one way or the other. I think my job is to find something that is revealing. Like for this special, we talked to a kid, and I always find it fascinating to go to a campus and just see what actually is happening. Mm-hmm. CNN will tell you one thing, but until you go to Texas A&M and talk to a kid, do you actually understand what it is? Like we talked to a kid about why he was obsessed with Charlie Kirk and why he was going to a Charlie Kirk event. What is it about this guy? And he literally articulated I have a hard time with my words. I like to listen to what he says. I like to memorize it, and then I have his words and his ideas. Mm-hmm. And it's it's comedic in the special, but I think above that, it's just revealing. Like when you're like, well, why do these people? Why are they drawn to this? It's like that kid said it right there. He didn't even know that he's being somewhat comical. That you're just memorizing ideas so you can regurgitate it. But it's very human. He was like, he feels lost without that. So for me, it's always compelling to go where the story is and to talk to folks about it.
And that part in particular reinforced something that I truly believe. People wake up every day and wait for other people to tell them how to think and feel about things.
Of course.
They have no opinion about nothing, but they'll go online, see their favorite person's opinion on something, and now that's their opinion.
Man, I'm sure you guys feel this stress. Like, I remember when I was hosting a show before The Daily Show, I would wake up every morning and I'd grab my phone, I'd look at the news, and I realized I was like, the first thoughts I have of the day are somebody else's.
That's right.
It's somebody else's opinion, somebody else's take. It's like I've given no space to actually have an opinion on the world whatsoever. And I think that's very much the case. And in fact, you can't compete in a collegiate space without having some sort of social media presence or connecting. So these kids aren't given space to figure out what the hell they want to think about first.
I was going to ask now the threatening part.
Yeah.
How many times have you been threatened, whether it's calls, people in person, emails, texts, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, that happens a lot. The emails, the calls, there's been threats on family members, which is not super fun. I think out in the field, 10 years ago, I'm not going out there with security guards. You know, you can go out there as a comedian, talk about politics, and not be afraid of getting punched. But Trump era comes in, people get more upset. Trump says, like, you're a patriot, fight back. These are the enemy of the people. And it was during his first run for president that, like, we went to a school board meeting and are having a conversation, and I get bum rushed by somebody who's just mad that we have a camera there. And since then, we keep adding security guards. I was there on January 6th, and that got hairy. We got a security guard that got pushed. There's flashbangs going off. They're like, we can't stand here. We need to get on a train. Like, it's sort of the new reality. And most people I talk to are great. They want to talk. They want to be on TV. They want to engage. But you have it now where people have been weaponized by the most powerful man on the planet who says, like, you can do something, you should fight back, these are the bad guys. And all it takes is a couple bad ideas for those guys to feel themselves and go after you.
What's the crazy experience that you've had so far?
I mean, J6 was pretty wild.
I'm sure.
You was out there for J6?
I was up there for J6.
What the fuck? I didn't know that. You was out, what was you doing?
I was working on J6, all right, Charlamagne? I was working there.
I was out there.
I was out there.
Tried the window.
You know what the funniest moment on J6? Outside of the whole trying to overthrow the government and, crapping on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Outside of that, I'm literally interviewing people, and we'd been there before, and we knew sort of like, we don't want to get trapped on the onslaught. So let's stay outside of where everybody is. And quite frankly, we're like, where's the one place nobody is congregating? And it was outside the African American History Museum. Jesus. Nobody was going there. So we were like, we will meet up here, and then we'll go and find people to interview. And we start walking, we find this guy swinging a pitchfork. And I go up to the man. I start talking to this man.
Oh, that's the guy you want to talk to.
That's the guy. I mean,
the guy that's swinging the pitchfork.
We got to make TV here, you know. And that guy's got a pitchfork. He's throwing it around.
Lead with blood. All right.
By the way, I still find it hilarious that nobody was outside the African American Museum.
Oh, 100%.
That's the funniest thing. Where are we gonna go?
Yeah,
African American Museum.
Yeah,
Nobody's there.
Do you want to engage with America's sins of the past? No. Let's take a crap on the desk of the Capitol. What do you say? So we're talking to this guy swinging a pitchfork, and he's ranting about revolution, and another man comes up. He sees the camera, and he's just swearing. He's just obscenity, man. And he's yelling so loud that Pitchfork Man stops the interview. He shushes him, and then he says, "This man doesn't speak for me," which then leaves me grateful to the more level-headed man swinging a pitchfork. Wow. And he makes eye contact with me, and he rolls his eyes as if to say, like, can you believe this effing guy? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's it. Like, even this guy is like, these guys are too crazy for me. Can we just have a conversation? And you're like, right, we can actually find a little bit of common ground if there is that crazier person there.
Yo, refresh my memory. What the hell was happening on January 6th before the insurrection? What was everybody there for?
Well, they were there to certify the vote.
Certify the vote. Okay.
But Trump then preempts it by having a huge rally at 11 o'clock. And so everybody comes out. Rudy Giuliani's there. And so everybody comes to watch the giant Trump speech, but everybody leaves halfway through. Not everybody. Half the folks leave halfway through to start moving towards the Capitol, which then we saw the Proud Boys march on the Capitol. I mean, it was a wild day. It was not a surprise though, as a cable comedy show. Like, we knew to be at the Capitol. We were right there when they pushed in because we're like, this is where everybody's going. This is where they said they're going. There's going to be something happen here. We didn't expect them to get inside, but we knew they'd be there.
Well, for the sake of content, for the sake of clicks, did you think to yourself, hey, we should go in with them?
Luckily, my inherent fear got in the way there. I think it was confusing as to like what the rules were. I think even at the time, like there was a small fence that got pushed in, and even as you're seeing this and you're watching this, and it's half tragic. You're like, this is the Capitol, this is the seat of American governance, and I see all these people acting like generals going in there, and it's also completely absurd. I interviewed literally an old man on a Segway trying to go up the hill while it's happening. But I'm assuming they can't get in, right? You're like, they're going to get stopped at some point there, but the people just kept coming, and literally our security guards at one point were just like, we're hearing explosions, this is an uncontrolled situation, it's time to get home.
People at The Daily Show, and you said it a little while ago, everybody at The Daily Show always says something that I totally disagree with. Y'all say that y'all not journalists, y'all are comedians. When the reality is y'all are probably some of the best journalists out, because you do things like go and talk to the other side when other folks really don't, right? So do you ever interview people at these rallies? Well, first of all, do you think it's fair for y'all to be able to say y'all not journalists?
Well, it's definitely a dodge. So yeah, thanks for calling it out. I mean, I think I say that in that the stories we get on The Daily Show are stories that are brought to us by journalists putting in the work. And so that I respect, and they work by the code of journalism. I think what we have, we take it very seriously. I don't see myself as a journalist, but I take going out and bringing back what we see to the show very seriously. But I do want an audience to understand the bias that we have towards comedy, and that we're making a show with that point of view. But I think all news has a bias. And I do think, like, in modern journalism, I don't think it should be a bunch of comedians going out there bringing the stories back. Far from it. But I do think they could probably loosen up some of the rules in the ways in which they engage with people. Because sometimes you see people engaging with the old school rules of journalism, not pushing people past their conspiracies or their BS, or they're weighing both sides, where you're like, no, that's BS. You need to call that out. You need to use some other way to knock that person off their talking point so they can reveal something truthful there. And I think as comedians, we have that ability. And at its best, it works that way. But we're working in conjunction with journalists who are actually bringing the story back so that we can have some commentary on it.
Comedy is disarming.
It is.
That's the thing that a lot of the journalists don't have.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, and at its best, it cuts to the quick faster than trying to argue with somebody else. You know.
When you do something like the MAGA, the Next Generation, do you ever leave the rally thinking, "Damn, maybe I'm the one who doesn't get it"?
I mean, I think I always leave it with a little bit more empathy towards the folks that I'm talking with. Because for every 5 minutes on camera, there's 2 minutes off camera where you're talking about something that's not political, and you connect with them, and they're interesting, they're compelling. You find music that you both care about or something. And I think like that softens what you think about the people and the interactions that you have with those people. I think I usually feel pretty steadfast in my opinions. That being said, I do think nobody has the certainty that they pretend to have on camera at these rallies. There's a lot of complexity to many, many issues, but nobody has the guts or the vulnerability to be open about it, usually in front of a camera.
Now, you said you want to bring peace and harmony.
God, did I say that?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Is that true?
Oh boy, when did I say I want to bring peace and harmony?
They said you want to bring peace and harmony. But how is that when every time a MAGA member comes, you give him a little joke? Give him just a little bit.
You know what? Yeah, I try to deliver peace through the lovely delivery mechanism of a joke. I'd love there to be some peace and harmony, but it is a constant balance of, I want to empathize. I don't want to just be mean out there when I talk to other people, but also I think life is pretty serious right now. And I think when I go to some of these MAGA events, you see Donald Trump playing to the masses in a way that emboldens him to do pretty cruel things. And so I don't mind pushing back hard in that direction. But I often think the people I talk to, I have sympathy for, because I think they're being weaponized by other people who are trying to manipulate them. So that's where my empathy tends to lie.
Do you ever struggle with where satire ends and responsibility begins, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think like that activist conversation is a tough one. I don't love the hat. I do think like John is somebody who always says this is not activism. We're comedians, and I think like in some ways that is a safety net but you also sort of need that to like not approach work every day to think of like, what am I trying to change in the world? Like, I understand where that comes from, but it's like the job of the show is to find comedy, to follow like your passions, the things you care about, where you see BS, call it out, but also like find a way to make it funny and interesting and reformat it. I think that is the job. You get in tough territory when you're like, I need to be an activist in that moment. I don't think that is the place. But I think you have to be honest with like your desire to like be a part of that conversation, but also be honest with like what your skill set is and what your platform is.
Have you ever spoke to somebody where you actually changed their mind by the things that you said and they understood what you were saying?
No.
Damn.
I do tell a story though. It doesn't happen in front of the camera. People don't change their minds in front of the camera. But off camera, it gets close. I was heckled at a rally by a man who was dressed in a brick suit. A suit that looked like Trump's wall, a bespoke suit. He had a handlebar mustache. He's known as the brick suit guy. Trump brings him up on stage at lots of his rallies. He's famous there. He trolled me at a rally. He live streamed during our interviews to try to get people not to talk to us. He was a pain in the ass. We get snowed in, and all of us have to fly out the next day after this rally on different flights. And I show up at the Green Bay airport, very tiny airport, alone. There's a 3.5-hour delay, and brick suit guy is there.
He's not in the brick suit still.
He's not in the brick suit. He's wearing a MAGA hat. He's got 2 extra hats on his case, but no brick suit. Civilian clothes. And he's like, do you want to talk? And of course I don't want to talk, but we're there at an airport for 3.5 hours and we get into it. And I don't change his mind. He doesn't change my mind, but he is remarkably open about the things he's unsure about with Donald Trump. He's unsure. He wishes Donald Trump didn't go on and on about the 2020 election being stolen, which is a huge thing. To show any kind of weakness, like I don't believe Trump was honest about that. In the MAGA movement, you can't say that in front of the camera. He says that to me off camera. He talks about like where he comes from. And frankly, he's like a libertarian guy who likes to troll people online. You'd like to think that the handlebar mustache guy who dresses in bespoke brick suits is an idiot. Not an idiot. Smart guy. Feels like a history buff. Like the kind of person who has too many like World War II books. But a smart guy, has his own topics. Like we literally, we laugh. Somebody recognizes me as we're talking and asks for a selfie, and he takes the photo, which is like, this. He's open to all of this stuff. We talk all the way up until I get on the plane, and I'm in an exit row, and the woman who takes the ticket asks if I'm willing to accept the responsibilities of being in an exit row. I say yes, and then I turn to him, and I was like, I hope this fucking freaks you out, man. And he laughs. And I'm like, that's it right there. Like, you're not intimidated by me. I'm not so offended that I made a joke. You laugh. It's humor. It's disarming. And it's, for most of the people who I'm friends with, even who I disagree with, you find things you can laugh at. And that happens all off camera. And I'm not entering that conversation to try to change his mind. That's not going to happen. But I'm entering it with like an amount of uncertainty of like, here's the things that I'm unsure about what the left says, or here's things that I think are okay about what Trump does. And he's like, here's things that I doubt about what Trump does. And you're like, oh, there's the human behind that. Even in the caricature of a guy from The Daily Show mixed with the caricature of a person from the Trump universe, like they can talk. They can meet somewhere of an understanding, and usually it's freaking away from those cameras in a Green Bay airport.
You think you're a caricature?
Well, in that moment, I think he sees me as a caricature. I bet he sees me as somebody who's like, you're on this show that I see as a progressive-leaning show, as a comedy guy. But I think I have an agenda and I have a bias, as I think everybody should see people on their screens as having those things. And my agenda feels right to me. I'm looking for comedy and hypocrisy, but I'm sure he's like, oh, this guy is just going to try to twist me into progressive loopholes.
I remember when you had your late night show, didn't they have you playing a character of a conservative right wing?
I was playing like an Alex Jones style right wing character. And so that was, and at that time too, it was like, InfoWars was so huge and big, and the conspiracy mindset, which thankfully has gone completely away. We don't see it anymore. But that was me playing a caricature to find humor in going over the top. Quite frankly, as comedy has evolved and the politics situation has evolved so much over the last 10 years, like I think that's still a space to play in. There's still humor to be found, but I think audiences are like so tired of extreme caricatures. You have one in the White House that like, I think they're connecting more with comedians on a more authentic level. And so that's sort of in some ways where the finger the pulse stuff has come out of. Trevor was big on that. He was just like, go out there. You're not playing a parody of a journalist. You're yourself, bringing your wits about you and your opinions. Find humor in that, but don't lean on the character.
Also, people are dumb, so they'll believe you. They're
Sure.
like, I didn't know you was playing a character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We had at the opposition, we had Carter Page, who was a foreign advisor to Donald Trump, and it was the center of the news cycle at one point because people were wondering if he was a Russian asset because Russia had manipulated him in the past. He was working for the Trump administration, and he reached out to our show and took a meeting at our show because he wanted to work on our show as someone. He didn't see it as a satire.
Wow.
He saw it as an opportunity, which was hard for us to swallow.
Where do you think satire fits in today's media landscape? Are people numb to it? Are they addicted? Are they still reachable? Do they understand it? Like,
I mean, I think what has shifted so much is like the formatting of it all, right? I think like satire is all about context, and that's hard if you're taking it in 7-second chunks on like TikTok.
Yes.
I think it's easier if you have a 30-minute chunk, if you have an 8-minute rant. I think people are drawn to comedy. In many ways, it is like the language of I mean, it's a language of humor, but I think like it's the quickest way to get to a truth. So I do think satire is in a boon. I think people are drawn, but that being said, the social media landscape has shifted the ways in which we consume all this stuff, and that has kind of like it is made for long form capabilities, long podcasts, and I think that has shifted where comedy lies, and short form as well, which is more about those sound bites.
Now, speaking of the future of MAGA, what do you think the future of MAGA is going to look like, especially in 2028?
Oh boy, I think Trump is such a singular character that they think it can be passed on, and that we have seen no proof of that yet. Donald Trump has been famous his whole life. I mean, he's referenced in rap songs when I was coming up in a way that was like he is equated with wealth, and I think that is nobody else has that, and so I think they're going to try to pass it off. Maybe that's to J.D. Vance, maybe it's to somebody who's even farther right, but right now it's still a cult of personality that he's going to try to build around him. We'll see if that baton goes anywhere else.
it's interesting when people say that, though, because to me, it's not even about the individual of Donald Trump. There's clearly a whole system that is perfectly okay with him doing everything that he's doing.
Yeah.
So that is what scares me. It's the system
Yeah.
that is allowing him to exist, because they will allow somebody else to exist in that same way.
Yeah, they've attached a system, and there's people behind it who have gotten good at understanding how to use Donald Trump. I think this Project 2025, the world of the Steve Bannon's, we're like, okay, he's going to come in here. He is a singular character in his ability to charm half a nation, 40 some odd % of a nation. I think that is hard to pass off. But I think you have a conservative movement who has sort of lost any desire to make a moral argument and just found a way in which to like attach their wants to somebody who will just bulldoze all the way through, who is about, I mean, the Trump doctrine is he likes to make deals and he wants whatever is good for him.
Yes.
And if they can attach conservative things onto the things that are deals and good for him, that make him look successful and popular, then they will ride that, and he has no problem riding that.
What's a moment, I have like a couple more questions. What's a moment that actually made you emotional while doing one of your Man on the Street segments?
I mean, it's not to get dark about it all, but like we covered news day in and day out. And when I was hosting the show specifically, like mass shootings.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, how do you find humor in it? We find humor. But like when it's your responsibility, late night has shifted into a place where people come to it to feel like a connection to what has happened during the days. And we have such a mass shooting epidemic in this country. And especially when I was hosting a show where like, what happened today? Well, the big news is there was another terrible shooting in a school. And we had people come on, and I've covered like the gun movement with specials and in the past as well. And I've talked to parents and I've talked to students who were affected by all of this. And it's such emblematic of what is wrong with our country. Like most people just want safe, basic guidelines to try to stop this. And there's such inaction on a federal level that it's constantly infuriating. And so as that keeps happening and continues to happen, like it's so heartbreaking. Also, as someone who has a kid who's in school right now, it's so scary to think of that happening to parents. And beyond that, it's so infuriating because it's like the system is broken when you have people who scream out from the rafters. 80 some odd % of people are like, we just need basic stuff to try to help kids in schools. And yet you have like a system of government that can't respond to that. Like that always pisses me off.
What's your dream field piece that you haven't gotten to do yet?
Barbados. Send me to a nice place, nice place on a beach. I'm in Pennsylvania all the time at Trump rallies in the heat, fighting with people about whether JFK Jr. is still alive.
Jesus
and so,
Christ.
like, send me to someplace beautiful. Give me a puff piece.
So how do you decompress after a day of absorbing conspiracy theories in 90-degree heat?
Oh, you know what? It's booze. Booze helps real quick. It's booze, the NBA, and being a dad. I think that helps out.
Or
Yeah.
Well, tell them how they can see this special.
They can check it out on Paramount Plus or YouTube. It's up on both those places right now.
That's right. Fingers the Pulse, MAGA, the next generation on the Daily's YouTube. Jordan Klepper, ladies and
Daily
gentlemen.
Show's YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, guys.
The Breakfast Club is Jordan Klepper.
Wake that ass up.
In the morning.
The Breakfast Club.